Hi, everyone. This is Lynette with LynetteDavis.com, and I'm super excited to bring you the first video interview of 2020. Woohoo! So this one's quite exciting because if you probably noticed the background, I am sitting in one of the passenger seats of a minivan because I am traveling up north at this time.
Nice.
But thankfully, because I'm a virtual assistant, I bring my internet with me wherever I go. And so I am using my mobile
Exactly.
hotspot. So I have an awesome guest who,
Mobile hotspot for the win.
yes. So I have an awesome guest who I wanted to do this vlog with because we are both celebrating Black History Month, but also we're both mental health advocates. So I have with me future Dr. Tiffany Jenkins. And I'm going to let her introduce herself, but me and Tiffany go back quite a ways. We used to be co-workers at a little nonprofit agency called Center for Family Services, where we both worked in substance abuse treatment. Woohoo!
Mm-hmm.
Found each other because of social media, and I managed to recruit her into being a board member for Love Yourself, Love Your Business. But Tiffany, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, of course, my name is Tiffany Jenkins. I am a wife, a mom of two teenage boys, a licensed professional counselor and substance abuse counselor, and a private practice owner. I am also on a journey toward a doctorate of education in organizational leadership with a concentration in behavioral health. Hopefully, that journey will come to an end by the end of this year, early next year. And yeah, that's me.
Awesome, awesome. So we're going to jump right into it if you don't mind.
Go for it.
All right, awesome. So, how do you define mental wellness, and where does self-care fit into that definition?
Self care is everything if you're going to be mentally well. Um, you can't be mentally well unless you are physically well, unless you are spiritually well, unless um, you are relationally well. And I like SAMHSA, what is it? Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration has a definition that encompasses 8 dimensions of wellness, actually. Everything from financial to relationships to, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, even. I feel like if you're not balanced, and balance looks different for everybody. What gets top priority for me may not get top priority for you, and vice versa. Um, but as long as people have balance in all of those areas, I think that's what contributes to mental wellness. Too often, we don't think about our mental health until it becomes a mental illness. Like when we get really anxious, we get really depressed, we get, stressed out and overwhelmed. But the truth of the matter is, if we're looking to have balance in all areas of our life, we can really live a life that's we can have mental wellness instead of just talking about the mental illness.
Very true. I completely forgot about that 8 dimensions of on this model. And I used to
Yes.
see it all the time. I'm going to have to look for that again and link that to it.
Hmm.
So thanks for bringing that back up.
Yeah, that's something that I stress a lot with. Like I said, I'm in private practice, so that's something that I really stress a lot with the folks that I work with, is not just looking at it like I'm stressed out here. What are the other ways that you're putting stress on yourself that are taking away from your mental wellness? Because most of the time, if you can get, let's say, your finances straight, or get your relationship straight, or get your health straight, a lot of the mental anguish we put ourselves through tends to disappear. So that's why I kind of like that model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of my slices of life model that I do every year for my
Yes.
life in a notebook system. So I'm like,
Yes.
ha, that's probably where they got it from.
Yep. 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 And Samsha's version modifies. I think the original version only has 6 dimensions. In the 80s, I want to say. Now you're testing the researcher in me to see if I really know the research. But it's like something around the 80s or 90s. It came out, and it was only 6 dimensions. And when Samsha did it, he added, I want to say, environmental and financial. I think were the two that he added to the pie to make it. This is a really good model. There's a ton of information about it on samsha.org. So yeah, that might be a good thing to link.
Awesome. So, and keeping that in mind, how would you create a culture of wellness for yourself as a busy business owner, a mom, a wife, a student?
It's interesting because my self-care plan, there are a few things that are consistent, but there are things that change as the responsibilities that I have change. So today, for instance, was my chiropractic. Sorry, I say chiro all the time. I have a chiropractic visit. I go see my chiropractor every 2 weeks. I sit all day for 12 hours a day. That's not good for me physically. So I go see the chiropractor every 2 weeks. I have a massage therapist who I go and see once a month. Um, I do yoga every Sunday, um, except last Sunday. I kind of played hooky a little bit. Um, but last Sunday is one of those times when it changed because it was my husband's birthday on last Sunday. And on Saturday, he woke up and decided he wanted to by the shore. So we got up on Saturday, ran a couple errands, and then legit didn't even pack a bag, just jumped in the car, grabbed like some basic essentials, and drove to Ocean City and stayed on a beautiful property. And he was able to watch the sun come up for first. That's all he wanted to do. So although of the yoga that day, the other thing that I do consistently is I practice breath minutes. So I am one of those folks who's big on breathing, mindfulness, meditation to a degree, but my idea is not like traditional sit in a quiet room with infant learning. So I practice breathing minutes. I will, when I feel myself getting overwhelmed, if I've been seeing too many people back to back, I will just sit still, set a timer for a minute, and I will do some breathing and just literally focus on breathing in and breathing out. That's it. I will also, let's see, I read when I'm not reading research articles. Um, I will try and read something. Sometimes that is as mindless as scrolling through Facebook and just reading what's going on in my friends' lives. Sometimes it's find a quote that, speaks to whatever I'm going through or whatever I'm stressed out about. And I'm also pretty good with maintaining a journal. And even though I may not do it consistently every day, making sure that I'm consistently going there and processing my thoughts. As a therapist, I also have a therapist, which is important. And I, go and meet with her regularly just to get some outside perspective. I also have a business coach who helps me with the business, and make sure that I'm keeping that in its proper perspective, and then spend time with family. So I really do live that whole 8 dimensions of wellness. Like it's not just mani pedis and spa days, although those are great. I love them. It's also about making sure that for me, I know if I'm not drinking 2 liters of water every day, I'm not going to feel good. So as small as that, in addition to my daily cup of coffee,
I feel
I am a
personally
Starbucks
attacked with
junkie.
that water comment, Tiffany, because I have such a hard.
I know, and I didn't even think about that. But I'm the exact opposite. Like, I'm sitting here drinking 1.5 liters right now, which you probably can't see because of the background. But if I don't drink water, I can literally feel the difference. I need water, coffee, and sleep, and then I can build on that. As long as I have those three as like a good foundation, I'm good. Um, for some people, it's tea. For some people, it's whatever their thing is. But I try to make sure that my self care plan is like super balanced and really incorporates all of who I am. I wear a bunch of different hats, so I have to make sure that I am kind of feeding each of those parts of myself on a regular basis.
That's so important, and that's why I really did like that you brought up that resource, because if we're looking at wellness from these different dimensions, then we know if we're looking at it, we can easily go, okay, this particular area is not being tended to. So I know that I need to kind of check myself with that and see where I can see how I can make the time to nurture that particular aspect of my wellness.
And I think that's important. You have to make the time. And for me, I don't necessarily have the luxury of sitting still for 30 minutes. I mean, I probably could do it, but at this rate, it will probably also drive me crazy. Um, sitting still for 30 minutes and focusing my mind and meditating is not really realistic for me. But I know that I can plug in a couple of even 5-10 minute pauses where I'm just kind of decompressing, not really thinking about anything, just focusing in that present moment. That's attainable for me. Like, I can do that. And I think when most people think about self-care, one, it's gotten this rep as, like I said, all these mani pedi spa days or whatever, which can get kind of expensive after a while. That's not really what it is. It is literally caring for yourself, all of who you are, in all of your authentic awesomeness. Just finding a way to nurture that, to fill your cup, because for so long we've told people, oh, you can't pour from an empty cup. The truth of the matter is, we shouldn't be pouring from the cup anyway. We should be so filled within ourselves that we're feeding others from the overflow. And I think that when we realize that it's not just about mani pedis, it makes it easier for us to find those ways to fill our cups. Um, it's sitting in front of the TV, like, you know, I'm more of an extrovert type of person. Um, with everything going on, I think I'm becoming more introverted just because of my schedule, but I'm more of an extroverted type of person. So I know that if I don't have some like social time, like family, my best friends, um, my children, even if I don't have that time, then I start feeling out of sync. I know that my cup isn't exactly full. So I have to make time for that. I have friends who are primarily introverts. So for them, they need to make, yeah, they need to make time for, like, I don't want to talk on the phone. I don't want to go see anybody. I just want to sit home and literally next Netflix and chill with myself. And that's the way that they kind of refill their tanks. My sister-in-law is a primary example of that. When we talk on the phone, we have like these really long conversations, but we don't talk for long periods. And that's because that's not who she is. We'll text every now and then, but she's one of those people who values that quiet time alone in her space. So everybody's got to find the plan that works for them. It is not by any stretch of the imagination a one size fits all thing.
Very true. And I can attest to that as the complete opposite, being an introvert. And I'm like that. Me and my best friend were just talking the other day, and we can go. We'll talk for like a good hour or two, have a really good, nice, thorough conversation. And I'm like, okay, I'll talk to you next month,
Yes.
or
Yes.
2 months or three.
Yep. Good chat. Good chat. Yep.
And she's an extrovert too, but we've been friends since we were like 9. So So we
Yep.
know each other's rhythm by
You learn
now.
to balance each other out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
You need that.
so I had a while ago, I did a series on which a topic that was really near and dear to my heart. And I also was really lucky to come to a workshop where you did a in-person workshop around a very similar topic. And that topic is mental health and spirituality, and which was awesome. I'm like, so when are we doing that
Thank you.
again?
It's actually going to be offered probably in the late spring, early summer as a virtual workshop. So I'm working on it, and there's a book coming with it as well.
Yes. All right. Preview. So, so with that being said, I know that, among the many hats that you wear, at the base and the core of that, you're a woman of faith. So, and I'm like, my internet connection is unstable, so hopefully I'm not as frozen as I think I am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can hear you, so we're good. So, can we talk a little bit about Black women, Black communities, and mental health within the context of organized religion? And I know that's loaded, so we're only brief on it, and we can
Very much
invite.
so.
Yeah,
Very much
we'll
so.
only have to brief on
So
it, and then we'll tell people later about the next time you do a workshop.
yes, we'll do the preview. So basically, God, there's so much to unpack with that. Basically, I'll speak from my experience. So I was born and raised in a Pentecostal. So I was born. If anybody knows the denomination, it's the Church of God in Christ. It's a very Pentecostal holiness. Predominantly African American organizational churches internationally. And I will never forget that one of my first conversations about what I wanted to do professionally was with one of the mothers of the church, and she was asking me, "Oh, baby, it's so good to see you. You're back from school. How you doing? What?" And she was like, "What are you going to school for again?" And I said, "I'm majoring in psychology." Her entire demeanor changed. And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to be a counselor." At the time, I was specifically interested in substance abuse counseling, which if counseling is the devil, substance abuse counseling is like the devil on steroids. So for me to have said that was kind of like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And so she was like, oh, they don't need all that. They just need to go down to the altar and pray and ask the Lord to heal them. And I was like, that's true, except when they get up, there's some stuff that they still have to work out. Um, and needless to say, that was kind of the beginning of the end of my relationship with her, because that's not, a response that is typically acceptable. Um, and so I've learned throughout my journey, just in my personal faith journey and in my work with people who also struggle, um, that there is this kind of duality that exists between, I want to have faith that, the God of my understanding is able to kind of take this away from me. But in the meantime, what do I do? And so one of the things that, oddly enough, I tried to get away from for a while, um, and I just kept coming back around to it and coming back around to it, um, is this whole idea of why can't we bridge that gap? Why can't we bridge the gap between the cross and the couch? And that's kind of where that um, that workshop came from. It's really an effort to kind of destigmatize. First of all, we've got a lot of stigma in the African American community around what counseling is and is not, and who goes, and if you can afford it, and all that other kind of stuff. And then you add to that the stigma in the faith community that somehow if you say that you're struggling with something, it means that you don't have sufficient faith and all of that. So one of the things that I've kind of made it a mission of mine to do is kind of dispel all of those, and bring people to the point where they're able to see their humanity in the Bible. So I often, and one of the examples that I gave at the workshop that you're talking about, was that example of Judas and Peter. And like they both were struggling with some things. The only difference is that Peter asked for help, Judas didn't. And, trying to draw out um, examples like that, talking about examples in the Psalms where David is very obviously depressed about his situation, looking at different people in the Bible who were not demon possessed, because that's the other thing. Everybody thinks that mental illness is this big bad demon, and that's not necessarily the case. And so I try to pull out biblical examples. I have in my practice right now who are people of faith who are kind of struggling with coming to see a therapist for the first time. I think it's very important that we understand that there are scriptures that, like, the word counsel and counseling is in the Bible. I used to know how many times off the top of my head, but I forgot. But it's there. There's a precedent for it. And like I often tell people, if you go to a regular doctor because your vision is getting blurry, or you got this pain in the side that won't go away, or you're feeling short of breath, then why wouldn't you go to a specialist who can help you when your thoughts don't really seem to be okay or whatever? Now, on the flip side of that, I think we, as therapists, have a lot of work to do, especially therapists who don't have a spiritual identification, because historically, the manual that we use to diagnose and treat mental disorders has also stigmatized against people of color and their connection with faith and things like that, and has
Yes.
apologized a lot of what we know to be spiritual experiences. Um, and so one of the things that I think we have to be conscious of as professionals is how we show up in those spaces and how we share space with and hold space for our clients who identify as being spiritual, because we also feed into that stigma that you can't have faith and counseling at the same time, just from a different end of the spectrum. So with that both communities on sides have to really come together and really kind of look at how we can be of service to one another. It's not a either or, it's a both and, because going back to those 8 dimensions, spiritual, like we have to. I was just saying that we have to understand that there are 8 dimensions in total. Spirituality is only one. Mental dimension is only one. There are 6 areas in there where we both encounter people. Um, Faith leaders encounter people dealing with family issues, financial issues, environmental issues, all of that. And so do therapists. So we have to figure out, it's not healthy, it's not productive for either side to kind of just draw a line in the mud and not work with the other side. So that's kind of the way that for me, I bring all of those pieces of me into the work that I've been doing lately. And there are a lot of people who have really been pushing me to kind of put it in a book because quite a few people either couldn't make it to the seminar or were there and have been like calling me like, okay, when are we doing this again? So I realized that it really is needed. I actually met someone from, I want to say, Minnesota, who, when I was talking about, we were in a course together for something, some, I guess, continuing education online, and they asked about like big goals or something. I said something about the class, and she messaged me and said, I need information about that class. I'm all the way in Minnesota, but if you do it online, I'll be there. Because there's really a need. There are people who really see that disconnect and want to do something about it. So I think it's not just on mental health advocates to to get, like I said, I think on faith leaders as well, we have to find a way to come to the middle and realize that, like, if you look in the news over like the past 6 months or whatever, there are a number of stories about pastors who have died by suicide.
Yeah.
There's also a large amount of buzz around. There was one pastor in particular who announced that he was going on sabbatical for the sake of his mental health, and we need to start having more of those type of conversations. Clergy cannot do this on their own. Yes, we know that they have divine strength, but God also gave us some other humans to help handle, the load and do some of this work as well. So I think we need to look at it from that perspective if we're really going to make an impact. There's too much to be done for anybody to think we can do it in isolation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're right. And I just saw another something about a pastor who ended up taking his own life and shooting his wife as well.
Wow.
That was like floating on my news feed somewhere, and I was like, "What is this?" I didn't click it because sometimes it's clickbait, but
Right.
but I did kind of see it, and I was like, "What is going on?" So you're so right, and it isn't just up to the mental health advocates. We do need to meet in the middle ground with the faith leaders to be able to do more of this dialogue at the very least. But I love that you are working on a book around this topic. I think is very, very needed. And I'll be signing up to buy it. So I look forward to that book when it comes. I'm like keeping up with with the draft.
I gotta get through this dissertation writing first, and then it's coming.
Yeah. I'm like, all right. Awesome. So I was not going to take up all the time. Plus, the technology lords were on our side. We only got cut off one time.
Good.
And I don't want to take it for granted.
Right. Let's not tempt fate here.
So, as a heads up to everybody who is here, as I said, Tiffany is also one of the board members for Love Yourself, Love Your Business. And we are working on our secret base, as you see on our website. And one of the things that you can look forward to in the secret base are things like virtual workshops that Tiffany was talking about. Although the ones that we're going to be working on is going to have something more to do with business. But within the group, if there's business owners who are also spiritual business owners, we can talk about having those kind of workshops too.
Absolutely.
How to be a spiritual business owner and, be a leader and make sure that you're being ethical at the same time, which is a lot of my work.
Huge.
So I'm really excited about that. We are going to do the workshop in May for Mental Health Awareness Month. And then so you will have to be there live because the recording will be going into Secret Base. So
good stuff.
So be there or be square.
Yes.
But so I'm really excited about that. And Tiffany, I am so very grateful that you came on out of your busy schedule to come and do this quick interview with me for the blog. And I look forward to touching base with you again when we do that workshop in May.
Yes, ma'am. Looking forward to it.
Yes. Until the next time, everyone. Peace, love, and wellness. I'm not doing hand signals because I'm afraid that too many movements will mess up the recording. Take care, everybody.
Oh, my goodness.